In this lecture, I will be outlining the following subgenres within the transgressive themes, including horror, homosexuality, taboo language, use of drugs and violence, and sexual behavior. I will also be focusing on the impact they have on society today. Cinema of transgression. Transgression is used to describe any form of cinema, literature, and art which goes beyond social norms, values, beliefs, and sensibilities. For example, violence, sexual behavior, and taboo language. In the 1960s, people started to accept the violating of norms done through films, which meant that new moral boundaries were tested as films started to involve drug use and sex. Psychiatric forms of disturbance also became popular, like the well-known film made in 1960, Psycho. In 1985, the term cinema of transgression was first used by Nick Zed to describe a loose-knit group of like-minded filmmakers and artists using shock value and black humor in their work. One of the movies he made was a New York City-based underground film movement. He also made several edgy black and white films which crossed moral boundaries. Horror is a film genre seeking to elicit a negative emotional reaction from viewers by playing on audiences' primal fears. Inspired by literature from authors like Edgar Allan Poe, Bram Stoker, Mary Shelley, horror films have for more than a century featured scenes that startle the viewer. In 2004, a horror film set in Japan, The Grudge, describes a curse that is born when someone dies in the grip of a powerful rage or extreme sorrow. The curse is an entity created where the person died. Those who encounter this evil supernatural force die, and the curse is reborn repeatedly, passed from victim to victim in an endless growing chain of horror. A US version had to be made for Western countries as it was rumored that the Japanese version was too explicit and was not appropriate for Western consumers. Here, it shows that although living in a more accepting society, different cultures still have different concepts of what is adequate and what is pushing the boundaries. In 2005, an American epic romantic film which displayed a different kind of transgressive behavior was released, Brokeback Mountain. The film depicts the complex romantic and sexual relationship between two men in American West. Many disagreed as to whether the film's two protagonists were homosexual or heterosexual, or should be free to any sexual classification. Films like Brokeback Mountain helps to push back boundaries of acceptable behaviors and practices, increasing the chances of normalizing homosexuality in today's society. This is where transgressive behaviors can be seen as acceptable, as it will help to change societies for the better. The Inbetweeners, a British sitcom aired in 2008, focused on everyday situations of school bullying, broken family life, indifferent school staff, male bonding, and largely failed sexual encounters, which was so popular to young teenagers that they made a film in 2011. Some quoted that it had exquisitely accurate dialogue, capturing the feel of adolescence perfectly. However, some parents of young viewers disagreed that it portrays adolescence perfectly. Instead, they believe that this TV series production has too much inappropriate language and offensive sexual discussion, that it was a bad influence to their children, let alone allowing them to watch the full hour and a half of the movie. Films like Pineapple Express uses comedy to cleverly hide the fact that their films can be seen as transgressive, as the plot is about drug use. It is about a 25-year-old process server who visits to the home of his drug dealer to buy weed. After taking the weed, they get caught into all sorts, but the film ends with a happy ending where they all are alive. These films, where there is a happy ending to drug users, can be a concern. It makes people feel that it is more acceptable to do these deviant behaviors because they will end up not getting caught, just like the characters in the films. Of course, in reality, it is not that simple. In 2014, a Swedish crime novel, The Girl of the Dragon Tattoo, was made into a film. It follows a disgraced journalist as he investigates the disappearance of a wealthy patriarch's niece 40 years ago. He is aided by the Pierce Tattoo punk computer hacker. As they work together in the investigation, they uncover immense corruption beyond anything they have ever imagined. The film featured everything that would be classed as transgressive: strong language, sexual behavior, and violence. Surprisingly, this film actually won an Oscar for the Best Achieving in Film Editing, alongside 28 other wins and 67 other nominations. A film recently released, from novel to the big screens, is 50 Shades of Grey. It has made a big impact in today's society. The film expressed explicit sexual behavior which can be inappropriate for the public. This caused a lot of campaigning from feminist parties as they felt that the film was exploiting females. There are two different sets of opinions towards transgressive films. Some enjoy this type of genre as it helps to remove them from reality for 2 hours. However, for others, violence in movies is a touchy subject, and debate rages over whether glamorizing the criminal lifestyle leads to similar behavior in viewers. In one study, a Salt Lake City mother turned in her son and his friend after she overheard them plotting to kidnap, torture, and murder several people. The 2 teenage boys had detailed plans to set up games in the Saw Star to teach a lesson to people they claim who were harming others, including a police officer and 2 middle school girls. Fury, a World War II-based film produced in 2014, portrays US tank crews in Nazi Germany during the final days of World War II, should be seen as a role model for future film productions in that it involves violence and swearing. However, it is seen as acceptable because of the storyline. We now live in a fast-changing society where social norms change within days, where an increasing amount of transgressive and deviant behavior becomes acceptable without even having an argument to say whether it is right or wrong. Part of the reason can be because of the influential power films now have, which is still growing.